spend a lot of time in introductions. Just we go to the point to have the 20 minutes. Yes, we are ready when you just give us the signal. Then, shall we just close? And maybe each one of you just introduce yourself very briefly, otherwise I will spend a lot of time. Super. You give me the signal. Then, good morning, everybody. Welcome. We are celebrating today the Youth, Children, Education and Skills Day at COP28. A big applause for all of us because we are celebrating this special day. My name is Adriana Valenzuela. I lead the Youth Leadership and Education Program at the Global Center on Adaptation. And I am delighted to welcome you, especially to this session that are discussing the interlinkages between climate change, adaptation, and education. We have an extraordinary panel. What we are talking about is how we can bring together the different sectors to discuss how we can move education and adaptation forward. Then for this panel, what I would like to do, the methodology, we will have 2 guiding questions. I will request all my panelists that you please introduce yourself. And the first question that I have is, what do we need to do differently to really move forward and to build a climate resilient development? Then, Professor Zach, I would like to start with you, if you don't mind to introduce yourself and give us an overview of what do we need to change to build this climate resilient development.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Zakri Hamid, member of the Board of Trustees of ALAM. This is the foundation of the Development Bank of Malaysia. I used also to be the science advisor to my Prime Minister in Malaysia, and also together with Irina Bukova, members of Ban Ki-moon Scientific Advisory Board. Chair, I totally agree with what was expressed by Jeffrey Sachs a few minutes ago, and that is the role of education. But the role of education, Chair, is easier said than done. Everyone is talking about education. But as you can see, the challenges of climate change, the temperature is still rising. In terms of biodiversity loss, it's still increasing. In terms of pollution, it's also multiplying. So what do? In short, I think all of us are responsible for this. Everyone in this room, stop pointing fingers, looking for heroes or political leadership. The leadership starts from us. Secondly, I think we need to invest in the next generation, the younger generation, of which this planet, we borrowed from them, you know. And to do that, I think it has to have an integrated and holistic approach where no one is a bystander, and that education is not only in the formal sense, but also informal and also non-formal. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then, Maya. We have our next speaker is Maya Grove. She's a convener of the Climate Governance Commission. Maya, from your experience, what do we need to do differently?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adriana, and really delighted to be here at rewirEd. As Adriana mentioned, I lead this Climate Governance Commission. We just released a new report. You can find it online. You can see these human hands holding the earth. And really, from this governance perspective, really tackling our challenges, we absolutely have to have vast improvements in education. I love the point about nobody should be a bystander. So first of all, I think for our education needed, we need to have education across the board, all learners, not just formal education, but CEOs, policymakers, et cetera, about the planetary boundaries. We've overstepped 6 of 9 of these planetary boundaries defined by scientists. We're also now in a new geological era, the Anthropocene, rather than the Holocene. So we've upset the balance of the whole Earth Earth system. And so there has to be a general knowledge around the world, across societies, also for the public, to understand the scientific reality that we're in. And because youth are sometimes the most aware of really the planetary emergency that we're in and the risks, the very grave risks that we're running, they also can have climate anxiety, for example, or everybody can have climate anxiety. So creating a sense of agency and hopefulness and solutions focus is vitally important. So, for example, I was very inspired recently by some Qatari youth, grade 2, grade 6, grade 7, who managed to change legislation in the country through their school group. So I think having a policy governance lens in education, also going very strongly on the transformative business, values-based businesses, tech, economy. There's so much exciting work to do there. And lastly, something that Jeffrey Sachs said about global awareness, global citizenship, a culture of peace. We have tremendous international challenges, global challenges right now, and more will be coming down the pipeline hitting us. So we have to have this sense of international solidarity, unity, and a sense of global citizenship.
Fantastic. Our next panelist is Fatou Gaye. She has been a key negotiator in the negotiations on education here at the Climate Change Convention, also former ambassador, Minister of Environment and Forestry, leading the negotiation for the African group, and former colleague. Fatou, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. I remember we were negotiating together the World Program on Education a couple of years ago. Then, Fatou, you have been in this process for different years, and the first time that we were talking about education was when the Climate Change Convention was adopted in 1992, and now we are in COP28 in Dubai. From your experience, Fatou, what do we need to do differently?
Thank you very much, Adriana. I am very pleased to be here with you people, and she has said, I've been negotiating on the education, training, public awareness, public participation, public access to information, and international cooperation, and all that is education for me. So they are together. Yes, I am one of the ones, I co-chaired the New Delhi Work Program, which has, that is the Article 6 of the Convention, which is in this one. Yes, thank you very much for recognizing that. What we need change from, I think, the education is important at all the levels, pre-nursery, but we should not forget about the parents. There are parent-teacher associations in schools, and the education should start from there. We need to sensitize them, and that is the public awareness of the education side. So we need to sensitize the parents during or after parent-teacher association meetings, because the education does not stop at the school level. The children go back to their homes, and we expect them to practice what is being taught by their teachers, and it continues on home, neighbors, and even those ones who are not in education. Again, I agree with Professor Sachs. The the student ratio to teachers is very wide in our own areas. Even you can find students who are being taught under trees. Some of you may not believe that, but it is happening. So if we reduce that gap, the children ratio to the teacher ratio is very important, because the attention the teacher will pay to that child is important for us. So and then to do all this, we need this for the children to be more attentive and more inspired. We in the Gambia, we developed like a brochure, an A5 brochure but we did it from policy decision making up to school going age. But later on we realized that the mistake was we should have separated the school going age and then the decision making and the policy makers, but include decisions and policies in the children's guide, because they would grow up knowing what is important and how they can integrate and play a crucial role in that area. Then we would not be waiting for them to be 18 or 25 or 21, and then we start saying, let them have say in decision making. They would have grown up with that. So I think if we have that change, transformational change at that point, I think it will make a great impact. We will impact our societies and we will impact our youth, because the youths are us for tomorrow. And we have seen now how they have come up. We've been sensitizing them on this, and putting in the curricula is important of all those, because we just don't want to be talking without showing them. Let them see the comic books. Let them even do it themselves at that level. So I think if we do this, it will help a little bit.
Fantastic. Then we need a very comprehensive approach and a holistic approach to bring all the sectors together, to bring everyone together. And then now I want to invite Elias Vasquez. He's a senior advisor of the Global Center on Adaptation. Ede, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Adriana.
You have been with the development program for ages. You also work with the World Bank. You are one of the experts leading the adaptation agenda. And Ede, what we have identified is that not many people understand what is adaptation. And if you don't understand, how can you be part of the solution? Then I would like to start asking you, what is adaptation in simple words? Why it is important? And what do we need to do differently to bring these two agendas together?
What we have seen in the Global Center for Adaptation is that a lot of the youth movements in the climate space are very focused on climate mitigation. I will agree, that needs to be important. We need to stay within 1.5 degrees. But even if the Paris Agreement targets are achieved, we need to get ready for a changing climate. And not many people know what is it that you need to do and understand the risk related to climate on floods, on droughts, on heat waves, on pests, and also what is it that you need to do about that. I usually do a simple experiment. How many of you have at home an emergency kit and an agreement with your family on what happens if there is a climate shock? How many have an emergency kit? Not many.
None.
No, and if
I have
you
one.
who are
I
the
one.
converts, you have one.
Yeah.
So if we are the converts and we only have one person with the emergency kit,
Thank you.
then imagine how is it going to happen in that process. So we believe that there are three things that the education system needs to do on adaptation and resilience. First, we don't see too many education systems in the world ready for the climate shocks of today and tomorrow, for the floods, for the droughts, for the heat waves. And this is not a developing country issue only. A few months ago, there was a full report in the United States on whether the schools were ready for heat waves. They are not. They don't have the capacity to handle cooling systems, because in the heat waves, the ability of students to learn goes down. Therefore, and the other thing that happens is that when there are floods or climate disasters, schools are used as shelters, and therefore the entire system collapses, and for months the students are not able to do. Education systems need to be ready for the climate shocks of today and tomorrow. Number two, education systems need to empower students to be able to get ready for those climate shocks. After the Fukushima disaster in the, with the tsunami, if you look at the numbers of what was the proportion of deaths by different groups, children had the highest survival rate. And the question is why? Why in a tsunami children would survive more? Because they knew what to do. The alarms had gone off, and they had done drills, and they knew exactly what to do. The education system needs to empower these children to be able to know what to do vis-a-vis climate emergencies, and they become the germ of knowledge throughout the community. Finally, the education system needs to give the students their skills to become adaptation, to create the adaptation jobs and the SMEs that societies need. Unless society has a vibrant ecosystem of SMEs that provide adaptation solutions, products and services, societies, households, communities, businesses will not be ready to withstand those shocks. And therefore, having an education system, technical, vocational, and university system that provides those skills. And when you're thinking about green skills, everybody's thinking about climate mitigation skills, solar panels, electric vehicles, but we need as much or even more climate adaptation skills. So those are the three things: as an education system ready for disaster, an education system that gives the skills for children to sustain and survive shocks, education system that provides the skills for the adaptation jobs of the future. Adriana, thank you.
Fantastic. An applause. And we are talking about empowering young people as agents of change. And then what I would like to do is to invite our next speaker. She is from India. She's a leader, Ayan. And then, Ayan, from your perspective, now we are living in a climate emergency. What are the challenges that young people are facing in this climate crisis? Aya.
Okay. Hi, my name is Arya, and I'm in my second year of the Knowledge Society, which is a STEM program where we accelerate. And I'm also the founder of Respira, where we create sustainable clothing using microalgae. So as someone who is in the upcoming generation, although I understand everyone's perspectives here, I want to speak from like a Generation Z type perspective. So what I would say is, even if you look at low-income countries and you look at higher-income countries, let's say this country, because I live here, I've grown up here, I've been really interested in solar voltaic farms, plants, especially in Masdar City in Abu Dhabi, and from what I've seen from the education system here, although changes are needed, a really big interdisciplinary approach is needed where climate change is introduced not only as one subject, but as many subjects. And also, just in general, I think I'm speaking for everyone. If someone does not have an interest in something, they will not go ahead and do research, take action. So I believe that's the key to start everything, just taking interest. So from my perspective in my school, let's say, I have a few peers who know climate mitigation, we need to. Like we learn about, oh, we need to help the climate, we need to do this, we need to do that. Field trips to COP28, field trips to IRENA, which is the Renewable Heart Agency in Abu Dhabi. And although that is really beneficial, we really need to just create interest, because subjects, you can teach anything at school, but it really depends on one's own perspective, because interest is really needed. So speaking from my generation, I believe that's something that should be more emphasized, just creating interest and accelerating growth in the sense that we all know, like everyone is aware. My generation is very vocal, I think everyone knows that. But in terms of vocalism and creating awareness, that only goes to a certain extent. The only thing that we can do now is take small actions that can compound into some type of chain reaction where everyone knows and everyone's doing even a little thing, and that will build up to something big. But to do that as well, we need interest. So I believe that the school education system should not force climate change onto children, because like speaking for my peers at my school, I know a lot of them are just, oh, climate change. It seems like a chore now, just listening to the facts, just listening to so many things, because there's billions of people in this world. 1.3 billion are youth. So those are the future investment. Those people are what we need to work on. And we should definitely not force it upon them to be like, we need to do something when they are not interested. We need to create interest, and we also need to make it more of something that is interactive and something that everyone should take part in. So in that way, thank you.
Fantastic. Now we are in COP28. Then I would like to ask my panelists, and we will have 45 seconds for each one of you. If we are here at COP28, what do we need to move this agenda forward, to scale up action, to foster intergenerational collaboration, but as well intersectorial collaboration? Professor Sakri, what do we need?
Go home, enjoy your flight, and get engaged with everyone around you on climate change. And as you were saying, I think it shouldn't be something that is forced onto our peers or our family or whatever.
Thank you.
The climate change should be made interesting, you know, so that everyone would have a buy-in to it. Then it will be a better world.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Maya.
Yes, I think all the government delegates should go home and really push, and civil society, everyone should push to make education in terms of the climate, but broader planetary boundaries challenge as a key priority of all governance. Education is a key vital measure across all learners, informal, formal, public communication, policymakers, CEOs. We have to, understand the planetary science, Earth system science, which is also very exciting. It's unbelievably interesting, exciting, and we've got to get our heads around it. We have so many things to solve. And second, we need, in this education, in all of our work, an ethos of innovation, excellence, and progressive development. We're all going to be, constant learners in trying to figure out and grapple with these challenges, which we're now in the middle of. We're in the planetary emergency.
Fantastic. Fatou.
Thank you very much. What we need here is finance. We need, I'm talking from the African group point of view, we need finance. Everything that I have indicated here needs finance to go on. Because if we don't have it, how are we going to implement this? These are important. This is an important tool that we recognize, and we need to get going. So therefore, and everything that I don't want to repeat it, because I have talked about the school ratio to the teachers. It means more teachers to train less children. It all boils down to, and there is the international cooperation on the Article 6 of the Convention, 8 of the Paris Agreement, which says international cooperation. And in this, if we cooperate at the international level, and then we get all these things in place, then adaptation would come in. And they would understand that adaptation is the priority of Africa.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Ede?
So Monday morning at the Global Center on Adaptation, there are 3 things we will be doing. Over the last year, we have developed a toolkit so that the youth can take action on climate adaptation. There's not enough process. And we're going to be using that to train 1 million youth in Kenya on the Green Army that the country is doing, to really start coming and saying, what do you do on adaptation? Second, we are working with the African Development Bank on financing, but it is really to help the youth have the skills and develop their jobs and their SMEs for adaptation. We're going to be having, over the next 5 years, 1 million youth in all over Africa trained with the skills and supporting to create jobs and SMEs for adaptation that are critically needed in Africa. And third, we're going to be having a strong partnership with Dubai Cares to figure out how do we make sure that climate in education is not only climate mitigation, but it is also climate adaptation. Thank you.
Great.
Anaya.
So what I will be doing personally is focusing a lot on my business model itself. So at Respira, we use microalgae to sequester carbon to create sustainable textiles. So quite literally breathable fabric. So getting carbon dioxide out of the air and storing it within microalgal biomass. And if we were to take any like textiles manufacturing company, for example, Decor, which is the largest manufacturing textiles company in India, they produce, I believe, bed sheets, cushions, any type of fabric. And like if you look at it in a bigger perspective, clothes, we need them, curtains, we need them. So they're practically everywhere. If they were to bioprint just 1/5 of their textiles, that would generate up to 27,000 kilograms of oxygen. And the textiles industry accumulates up to 10% of global carbon emissions. So in order to fight against carbon neutrality, that's something we need to focus on. But also I want to add on to Fatou's point, because I found it really interesting. Finance is needed. I've heard of so many different groundbreaking innovations that have such high likelihoods of success, but they don't have enough finances, they don't have enough support. So finance definitely, even in low-income countries, even in high-income countries, they're needed everywhere. So yes, that's my point.
It is a very interesting discussion that will continue. Then we need to make, first of all, education and adaptation priorities for the climate change agenda. We need to engage everyone to be part of the solution. We need to have an action-oriented and a holistic approach. We need to establish intergenerational partnership and to bring everyone together. We need to have a lifelong learning. And the most important is that education brings hope. We need transformational education, and we need to do this together. From COP28, thank you very much to all of you. It's a call to action to all the people that are watching this live stream session. It's a strong to action to act together and to make education and adaptation central in the climate change agenda. Thank you very much, and a big applause for this extraordinary panel. that managed to finalize on time. Thank you to all of you. I wish you a very pleasant day during the summit. Thank you.